We continue learning Dirshu Mishnah Bura Baruch Hashem. We have finally concluded Hilchos Netilas Yadayim, and we move on in our journey through our Achayim with Hilchos Betzias Hapas, the halachas of breaking the bread. And then we begin with Siman Kof Samach Zayin, excuse me, which the Machaber coins the Makaim and the Siman Abatzia, the time and place of the breaking the bread, and who is the one that is going to break the bread. And this is going to be a bit of a lengthy simin. We have 20 sifim. And we begin Sif Aleph, says the Machaber Baitzea Bebasu Makashen Efa Hativ. Halacha number one is, where do you baitzea? Where do you cut the bread? You cut the bread from the place that it is baked well. Ramon rejects Bapasti done. Our bread you should break on the side. And cut off a little bit from the top. And the bottom. Continues the Mechaber. You should cut off the piece that you are being baitzea, that you are cutting with. You need to cut ma'at a little bit. Why? That if you were to pull that prusa, the rest of it will go with it. Because if not, it's considered like the little piece. Shall leave it attached and begin to make the bracha. And after you finish making the bracha, you should separate it. So you could finish the bracha while the pas is shalom. And we start seeing already over here an incredible halacha with regard to making the bracha on a shalom, which we'll eventually get to, that there's a maila always to make a bracha when the entity is complete. But over here we have a problem because you need to cut the bread. Therefore the entity is not complete. So says the Machaber, a beautiful eitzah. You're going to cut through the bread, but you're going to keep it attached, enough attached that if you pull one side, the rest of the bread is going to go with it. Then you're going to finish the bracha and then separate it. Why? So that the bracha, while it is attached, and it's going to be considered a shalom. Continues the Mechaber. You should not cut off a small piece from nation near Ketzar Ayin. You look like you are stingy, but not a bigger piece than a mekabeya from the nation era, because then you look the classic gluttonous. Says the Rama, but on Shabbos, everything changes. Don't cut the bread until you finish the bracha. So your breads are complete. Ein mazik, you don't ruin anything. Interesting lashon of mazik. Ein mazik. Venira continues the Rama. Hardly if say during the week when you're by yourself. And you want to give everyone from the prusa, from the piece that you're cutting off, everyone is supposed to get a unique halacha. That why people don't do that, we're gonna have to get to. Continues the Rama. Okay, so Sif Aleph is loaded. Let's just begin it. More ba'ifin hakdama, and then we're going to have to come back around. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sif Katan Aleph, and we begin. Your baitzea bepasu makim shenefa hativ. Says Mishnah Berurah, I know lach shenata yadav, after you wash your hands, lachila, for eating. You want to make a bracha. The covet of the bracha is to cut to the place that is baked well. The place that is hard. Not the place that is soft in the middle. Says the Mishnah Berurah Pasti done. What does it mean, our bread? Even their ovens. They would take the bread and they would slab it onto the side of the oven. There's no difference. And that's more like how they make pitas. You take that slab of bread and you throw it on the side. So the Mishnah Berurah says, the guy doesn't really understand what the difference is. Lamais, it's a bread, he still should cut it at the end, which is going to the place which it is baked bread well. Betzias Hapas of Katan Gimel to Gemara Isa lechad giersa shaboseh b'makashem maschal Hapas likra mulit bashel. You should cut at the place that it starts to harden. V'yish me'poskim shesvir luhu tainu tzada elyon me'apas, the top Shu neged avirat tanur, because that is exposed to the air. That the bottom cooks first, and it's in the bottom of the oven. So now we have a problem. The top cooks first, the bottom cooks first. What do you do? So when in doubt, don't do either. Go from the side. The side for the top and the bottom. Shneim. Some say that it's better to cut on the side, keneged, the area which is starting to crack. That's the place where it begins to bake. And the bread, the dough pushes until it splits open the part opposite. You don't have to take off the piece that is complete. If the bread is burnt, so a little bit of a misconception. People know that it has to be the place that it's baked well, so they go for that burnt piece of I don't know what. But that's not appropriate because the whole point is the kavod of the bracha. It's certainly not covered of the bracha to be making the bracha on the piece that is not edible. And we continue. Zivkat and Dal v'yachtich v'sarach says the Mishnabura hay v'tzarach hay pirush l'mach kasav b'tchil v'yachtich u'b'bir ha'inyin hu. The Medina mevarich medin you make the bracha va'achich peiris hakikidei kol bracha apas shlema. The din is you make the bracha and only then va'achar kach peiris hakikar. Why? So the bracha is on a complete pass. Again, shudar cover the bracha. That's the cover for the bracha to make the bracha on the shalim. However, now we have a different problem. So on one hand, you want to make a bracha on the shalim. On the other hand, you don't want there to be a large break between the bracha and the eating. And obviously the word large over here doesn't mean necessarily minutes of time. Seconds as well could be called a shihur rav between the bracha and the achila. It appears like a half. Therefore, you cut a little bit by kikar before you begin the bracha. And the cut should be a little bit like we will see. You make the bracha, and then you finish cutting the piece from the bread. Ma'at. You're cutting a little bit. I feel a bit bruised. You don't cut it completely. Shem like in Ratzalaimer says Mishmur Katan Vav. Shem Yacht kol kach be'akikar al kidei. Shir sheim yoichazapus lo yalakikir mavishav lachatzayin. If you cut the piece off so much that if you pull it, it will not pull the rest of the bread with you. Then nechshav kaparusum of the me'akikar. It's considered a piece and detached from the luf. Al gav shem yoichaz me'akikar. But if you pull the other side, yalam emela brusimai. And this is where it's going to come from. We'll see that when you want to don, if something is a shalim, sometimes you'll have a bread that's a little bit raw and it's going to be cracked a little bit. It's going to be by holding this smaller half. If the larger half will go with it, but again, that's going to just be in the maila of the shalim. Continues Mishmur Sivkot and Zayin, who Chayz Lamasha Kazam V'Tchlev Yakta Prusa B'Psia, Kitana Sivkot and Ches, Hanu Kitana make Zayis, Ein Be'Agrav El Yerabba, and then you should not cut more than a be'ah. We're going to stop over here, then we're going to leave the Shabbos part of this halacha for the next year. Yosef Mekabeya, Hainu in Parsik De Lechol Tekev Mimenu Gufa. You cut to eat right away. Aval Im Bechlal Zeh Masha Parsik Chatich Gdela Me'Akikar V'Achel Chaytich Min Oisei Prusa Gufa Lechatich Chasamaitzi. If you cut a piece, to cut another piece is not a problem. Zeh Lo Mechzi Karvanasan. You're not looking like a glide in such a case because you're going to be cutting another piece off of it. Like Mam Seif Siman Zeh Betzias Ayin Sham, which is going to be the Shabbos chelik of his halacha, which we're going to pick up from. But we'll call it a day. Let's just look at the Dirshu for a moment. If we could get it open. Here we go. Says the Dirshu, note number 3, then you cut off the piece for hamaitzi regarding holding the bread. So we're going to see in Siman Kuf Ayin, it's not kedai. You're never supposed to hold in your hand a piece larger than a be'ah, even though you're not eating it all at once. You're taking a bite from it. Whereas the Shartzin is going to say from the Shulchan Aruch over here, it's muchadaf using a kabeah. That is the shear, but a kabeah itself is going to be mutter. But Lamaisa, as we'll see when we get there in Kuf Ayin, when there are societal norms like bagels and slices of pizza, which is the society to eat the beya, a large den of beya will not be a problem, according to most paiskim, to hold day. No, that's going on the next thing. And we'll pick it up on the Shabbos Chilik, which is the Ramah, halfway through Sif Aleph for the next year, the Siyata de Shmaya.